Hello, government students, for Mr. Ficker and Mr. V. I'm reaching out to you today because we are coming upon winter break, and a number of people in our classes are still failing the class, and it's not even close because of lack of effort on completing assignments. Some of you have taken a 3-week break and gone from having a B or a C in the class to having a 40% or worse. You need to get on it, folks. This is not a wait around to the last minute type mentality. You need to get your work done. Now, some of you have reached out and said you're confused. To those that were asking for clarification on directions, this video is for you. For those of you that are saying, I don't even know where the assignment is and where to get started, you're not watching videos. You're not doing any of the extra effort. You're just kind of opening up an assignment and going, well, I don't know what to do. And then just telling me, well, I couldn't do it because I didn't understand it. There are some of you that are reaching out saying, hey, the directions really don't make sense, or hey, I'm kind of confused as to where to get this information from, or hey, your video wasn't very clear on where the link is for this. This is what this video is meant to do, to make sure that everybody understands exactly what these assignments are. So you really shouldn't have any problems moving forward if you follow along and understand how to do these 5 different assignments. I'm going to start with the iCivics. The iCivics was the assignment from the week that you guys were at home or that you were remote right after Thanksgiving. So after we did our Zoom conferencing that week, you were given a Google site of review games on iCivics and this questionnaire to do along with it. Now, when you brought up the Google site, okay, the Google site literally said iCivic games and it had video instructions. There were a number of you that were like, I don't even know where to find the games. Well, literally, Ficker and Miss J put together this site to explain that. So you need to watch this video to understand exactly how to play these games. Now, some of you were running into Flash player problems. You were running into, issues of actually playing the games because of, Adobe Flash not working or whatever else. You need to allow that to work within your Chrome browser. If you have a school-sponsored laptop, it should work. So if you have problems like that, certainly reach out to us. But don't just say, well, the games didn't work, so what do you want me to do? You're going to need to, as a student, work through some of these tech problems with us. You can't just put it on, an email saying, well, I can't do it, so what now? You got to tell us what the problems are specifically. Just saying, well, the games won't play doesn't help us. Take some screenshots, explain what's happening. Is there a box that comes up that explains what the problem is? Is it saying that some program isn't running properly or whatever else? So again, just kind of help out. And Ficker and I both have office hours that you can come into and ask questions. So please make sure, again, that you're reaching out and communicating with us if those are problems. Now, on this site, under games, you had all these different games that were kind of spelled out for you. You only had to choose 3, okay? You had Do I Have a Right? You had the game Race to Ratify, Branches of Power. You had Win the White House, and Cast Your Ballot. Now, if I were playing these games, I said this in the introductory video, when I initially told you this, if I were playing these games, Win the White House is a lot of fun because you're running for the presidency. You're actually taking a candidate and running them for the presidency. And then I like Do I Have a Right? Because you're running a law firm and it's really affirming whether or not you understand the rights in the amendments. Okay, so again, those are the 2 games that I strongly advise you to play. When you play these games, you only have to, like I said, choose 3. You're going to answer the questions associated with these games in this iCivics questionnaire on Google Docs. You're going to answer the questions, and then you're going to put screenshots. Now, some of you actually put screenshots at the very tail end of the Google document. Some of you just took screenshots and put them in as pictures within your submission. Either way works. To take a screenshot on your devices, if they're school-sponsored, you're hitting the Control, the CTRL button in the bottom left-hand corner of your keypad, and then they're right above the 6. There should be like a little box with 2 lines. If you hit the Control and that box, it takes a screenshot, and then you can copy it to your clipboard and paste it into that document. That's all you had to do. Play 3 games, answer some questions, take some screenshots of your finished product. That's what the requirement was, and yet we still have a boatload of you that have not done that assignment. That was an easy 60 points. Some of you are really kind of pushing it when it comes to due dates if you're still waiting 2.5 to 3 weeks later after an assignment is put out there as simple as playing video games and then answering some simple questions. So again, let's get on that. And then last Friday, you had 2 assignments that were due. Now, one of them was the basics of Congress, this assignment right here, okay? And that was a Google site that was called Congress. This was made by Mr. Ficker. Okay. And he put up this Google site that has all these different subheadings here: purpose, powers of Congress, leadership, House and Senate differences, committees, the Capitol building itself. And then he had a note sheet. Now, not surprisingly, part 1, role; part 2, powers; part 3, leadership. Those match up pretty easily and pretty succinctly to these different headings over here. So you're literally just reading through or watching the videos associated with these headings here, these 6 subheadings, and then you are putting in the answers to all of them in this chart and these questions all the way through. Okay. Some of you were saying, well, I don't know where to find this stuff. I can't find this stuff. But when I was counseling you through it and saying, well, did you watch the video or did you read through it? You were saying things like, well, I didn't know where to read it. So again, it's kind of, you want us to kind of spoon feed everything to you. You're going to have to use the site. Spoon feeding is, hey, we broke it up into 6 sections for you. You're going to have to kind of figure it out as you go through by reading and answering the questions, matching the parts up as best you can. So again, it's not, I'm not trying to be condescending or rude here, but when you're not watching the videos that kind of introduce this and you're not, really kind of paying attention to what the directions truly are, and then reaching out and complaining to us, it's not going to go very far with us. Ficker and I are going to be rather dismissive of you if you're not taking the extra step to watch the video in the first place. Okay, so again, this one is just as simple as reading through and watching the materials and then answering questions associated with it. Many of you who have done this have gotten at least 100% because you have done all the sections. For those of you that are not getting 100 on this, is because you're skimping and you're not answering questions. You're leaving blanks. Okay, don't just leave blanks. Reach out and ask a question if you're uncertain about where to find certain material or you're uncertain about what the answer truly is. Okay, so that was the basics. The next one was assignment 2 that week, your fantasy Congress. And this is the one that got the most questions about. Now, 2 ladies from my 4th and 5th bell have reached out. One literally came to my classroom to ask a question, and I totally didn't have time that day because I was in the middle of a Zoom conference for someone else. So you're not the people I'm talking about. You're taking the extra steps to try and learn this stuff. I'm not coming down hard on you folks, but the ones that are emailing me just whining and complaining about it or just plain not doing it, that's who I'm kind of going after here. So I'm going to answer the question of the 2 ladies that actually took the time and effort to look through the video directions and are still kind of confused. Here's the deal. When you bring up the Fantasy Congress roster here, you will notice that it asks you to put your candidate info, which is the name, the state, the political party, and years served. Okay. Then they're asking what committees are they on, political experience. So what jobs have they had? What have they done while they've been in Congress or before they were in Congress? Were they local politicians? Were they maybe a mayor of their city? Did they serve on a school board? Did they serve as a township trustee? Did they, and it'll say that on their website. We're going to get to that here in a second. This part over here, these 3 right here, bills sponsored or written, those are things that they are currently working on or issues that they care about greatly. You can find all of this on their websites. Now, you will notice that you're going to build up 7 different people here, 7 different people from the House of Representatives. And then you will notice that there are 3 spots for people that are in the Senate. Okay. So you're going to look up 10 people that are serving in Congress, 7 House members, 3 senators, grand total of 10. So you're creating a roster of people that you find interesting. You can find all Republicans, all Democrats. You can find all men, all women, all minorities. You can look into trying to make as many of them from Ohio as possible. Obviously, you can get 7 Ohio congressmen, but you can't get 3 senators because, again, you only have 2 senators per state. You can do whatever you want with this. What you're going to do is you're going to go to house.gov, okay? It literally gives you the link both here in the worksheet and on Google Classroom. When you do, it brings up the House of Representatives, okay? Now, when you're on this website, for those of you that were saying, I didn't understand where you found the House members, this link right here that says Representatives, if you click on that, it's going to take you to a list of current House members, people that are serving in the House of Representatives currently. All 435 members, voting members of the House are here. Okay. Now they're divided up based upon state and district. When you first click on it, you can also do it by last name. And of course, you can obviously click on any number of these to go to the actual state. So let's say you want to know Pennsylvania and you want good old Dwight Evans here. Let's say that's the person you want. You like the name Dwight because you're an Office fan. Okay, so you bring up Dwight's homepage here by clicking on his name, and when his homepage comes up, and I'm sorry, my internet's working exceptionally slow. Some of you can absolutely sympathize because you're having the same problems at your house, and we understand that. Needless to say, Dwight Evans, of course, has all kinds of fun stuff here. There's Dwight posing with some friends, obviously, or constituents. Meets with veterans at Philadelphia VA Medical Center. Okay, so this is Dwight's homepage. When you're on Dwight's homepage, you will notice that on the actual assignment, you need to get his name, Dwight Evans, state, Pennsylvania, political party. Well, if you noticed on the House page right here, it actually tells you that he is a Democrat. It tells you which committees he's part of, small business and ways and means, which means when I actually go to fill out my assignment here, I already know Dwight Evans could go right here. I already know Pennsylvania. I know he's a Democrat. Years served, I might have to look for that information on his actual website. That's just how many years has he been in the House of Representatives. Okay. And again, when you're looking at the list of people, Dwight Evans, it's not going to tell you here. In the Senate, it kind of does. But in the House of Representatives, it can tell you all about, okay, his votes in legislation. Okay. It can tell you about committees and caucuses, tell you about his district, where he's from. It gives you a map gallery. Okay. You have contact information. You have issues, which will help you to do that far right column. Okay. All of that is on his website. Okay. So when I'm filling this out, when it says committee assignments, I got that from the previous list. Political experience, I can click on his about on his website. So if I click on about, it's going to take me to a site that's going to kind of tell me a little bit about the history of Evans, about who he is, about his political experience, all of that. Okay. So it's right here. It says Congressman Dwight Evans represents Pennsylvania's 3rd congressional districts, includes Northwest and West Philadelphia. Okay. Where he's born and raised, playgrounds where he spent most of his days. Okay. You can say that he currently serves on Ways and Means Committee, vice chair of the Small Business Committee. That was already on the website prior to this. He's an at-large member of the Executive Committee of the Congressional Black Caucus. Okay. And again, it kind of goes through in his first term. He also supported criminal justice reform. So it even tells you some of the things that he's passionate about. So if I look through and say, all right, he worked on criminal justice reform. Okay. If he worked on the House Gun Violence Prevention Task Force, so he's against gun violence, and he's worked to try and help out with that, to help out the end of that. Okay. He basically is right here. It actually says he was first elected in a special election in November of 2016. Before that, he served as a state representative for 36 years. So that means he has been in the House since 2016. Okay. Now, since it's 2020, that means he's been there for 4 years. So when I'm filling this out, Dwight Evans, Pennsylvania, Democrat, years served, 4. Committee assignments. He's on the Ways and Means Committee, and he's on the Small Business Committee. Found that out from looking at the About section. Political experience. It said in that paragraph he served in the House, in the State House for 36 years before ever going on to Congress. That he works on certain committees. He's part of the Congressional Black Caucus. You can put any number of those things in these 3 areas right here in the middle. And then to the far right, as I said before, he worked on a gun control panel. So gun control is one of his big issues. Criminal justice reform is another one of his big issues. And then you can look up another issue that he works on in his voting record. Okay. All of that can be filled out. And notice I just did all that in the space of about 2 minutes, just skimming through Dwight's homepage. Okay. Which again, I got by coming to this list here that I got to based upon the representatives tab. As soon as I click on representatives, it's going to give me all these people. And you can click randomly. You can go after specific states. Like I said, if you said, hey, I want to get all the people from Ohio, if I want to do Steve Shabbat, because he's my representative, not mine personally, but yours, because he's 1st District, state of Ohio, you can click on Steve, learn all about Steve and what he's done for your district. Now, that's in the House. When I get all of my 7 House members, you will notice that after I've done my 7 House, I move on to the Senate. Same thing. I go to the Senate.gov. When I bring up the Senate.gov, you will notice there's a link here called Senators. I click on Senators. It's going to bring up a list, okay? And it literally starts with contact 116th Congress, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually click on the contact 116th Congress, because then it's going to give me a list of senators, okay? These are all people that are senators, and I'm going to use Sherrod Brown because he's one of your senators here. If I click on Sherrod's name, it's going to bring me up to his website where I can do the exact same thing I just did with Dwight. Now I'm doing it with Sherrod here, okay? Obviously, if I scroll down, all these guys are going to have things that are about COVID, obviously, but they're also going to have other things, help from Sherrod if you want tours, flags, students, inauguration, whatever. Some of them are going to have this little area, the menu button, where you can click on a biography. You can click on his issues, which again will help you with that far right column. So will legislation for that matter. All of the stuff that I just did on Dwight's page, I can do on Sherrod's page merely by reading through his biography, his issues, and his legislation. I can find out everything I need to know from this section like that. Now, if you still have questions about how to do this, because a number of you were kind of saying you were clueless as to what to do, then obviously reach out through email or visit us during office hours. But that's literally all you have to do with the Fantasy Congress. You are just looking up 10 individuals, 7 in the House, 3 in the Senate. Okay, now that's assignment 2 from last week. This week, tomorrow, there are 2 assignments that are due. They are less point value. So if I'm going to focus on any of these, it should be the Fantasy Congress and it should be the Basics of Congress. These right here, Basics of Congress was 100 points and the Fantasy Congress was another 100 points. So you're talking about 200 points that are on the table that many of you are taking a 0 on right now because you just haven't done it. Okay. If you add in the iCivics games, that's 260 points that you're just leaving out there. And it's literally playing video games, doing some minor research, and reading. So if we can do that, a lot of you are going to see your grades swing right back up into the positive fairly quickly. Now, keep in mind, there are a number of you that have double-digit missing assignments right now, so it's not going to swing that quickly, but at least it would get you in the ballpark. Now, this week's assignments, these are due tomorrow, okay? How a bill becomes a law and researching a current congressional bill. Researching a current congressional bill is quite simple. Ficker put together this short 5-minute video right here that shows you how to research a current bill up for debate in the House or the Senate. You will watch this video. It takes 5 minutes, literally tells you it's 5 minutes, and it's a YouTube video, so you should be able to stream it just fine. And then you're going to follow along the directions in this document on Google Docs. Now, Ficker has laid out exactly what you should be looking for when you are researching, and he's asking you to basically find the research and put it into written form. So you're going to present the material in a short few paragraphs trying to explain exactly what the bill is and what it does, okay? So what to include in your report on the bill sponsor, so who actually made the bill, who actually proposed it, okay? A summary of the main points of the bill. What is the bill trying to do? What are the chances of the bill passing and why? So do you think the bill actually might get through the House and the Senate or not? Action taken on the bill. Is it in committee? Is it ready for a vote? Is it just sitting there waiting for McConnell or Nancy Pelosi to do something with it in the Senate and the House respectively? Pertinent background information. What information do you need to fully understand this issue? Okay, note the majority of the information will be in this section. So again, you're kind of given the background of what the bill is actually trying to do. What agencies, groups, organizations outside of Congress are opposed or for this bill. So obviously, if it's like a gun rights or let's say a gun control bill, the NRA is probably going to be involved. The National Rifle Association is going to have some feeling on this, as well as maybe parents, advocacy groups that are worried about school shootings or worried about massive violence due to guns. You're certainly going to have special interest groups, as they're known, involved. And what do public opinion polls say about the support or opposition of this bill? You can certainly look up, percentages people may be asking about this bill of like potential voters and taking a poll out of this. And of course, if you were a member of Congress, how would you vote? Now that you've researched it, what would you do? Would you vote yes, no, indifferent? Why? Okay. So after you've looked up all that information, and of course, again, he gives you kind of written out directions up there, you will type your report right here. It's just as simple as going through, and as long as you're answering all these questions, you should get a fairly decent grade on it. Now, that's one of the assignments due tomorrow. The other assignment is called How a Bill Becomes a Law. Now, I put this one together and I gave you a number of different videos. How a Bill Becomes a Law, which is a 7-minute tutorial from PBS that shows you kind of the steps that it takes for a bill to become a law. The old Schoolhouse Rock video, which is just a catchy little tune. And then How a Bill Does Not Become a Law, which is just a stupid SNL bit from a few years ago when Obama was in office, where they make fun of Schoolhouse Rock a little bit. You're not actually going to be able to use that to help you to navigate the flippity activity here in a second, but it's just in there for fun if you want to kind of laugh a little bit about Schoolhouse Rock. This flippity scavenger hunt right here is just like the scavenger hunt we did a few weeks ago, except for it doesn't build on itself, meaning you don't have to do 1 to get to 2. You can literally go through, if you don't know the answer to number 2, you can move on to number 3 and just do that and then come back to number 2. Most of these you should be able to answer if you've watched the videos, especially this one right here, the How a Bill Becomes a Law 7-minute video on YouTube. All of the answers from this flippity activity are discussed in that 7-minute video, I promise you, because I wrote them while watching the 7-minute video. So the people that keep reaching out going, I don't know where to find the answers, you're not watching the video. So please watch the video, okay? Once you are done with the scavenger hunt, it is going to process, but it's also going to give you a prompt. You are then going to answer that prompt right here in this Google Doc. So you're going to basically take that question, copy and paste it into the prompt, and then answer it in paragraph form. For those of you that are getting less than 70 points, because this whole thing is 70 points, you're getting 40 points for completing the flippity and completing it with the correct amount of time. For the 2 of you that completed the flippity in 30 seconds, you obviously got the answers from somebody else. That's cheating. So you're going to get a 0 out of 40 for doing that. The flippity should probably take you in the neighborhood of at least 20 minutes to actually go through the questions, especially if you're struggling finding the answers in the videos. So again, I am paying attention to the timestamp about how long it's really taking you to do this. When you're done with the flippity, you're going to take a screenshot, you're going to put it in here, you're going to answer the question, you're going to turn it in. For those of you that are getting, well, wait a minute, I did the scavenger hunt and I still got a 50 or a 60 out of 70. What gives? It's probably because you gave me a sentence response in a paragraph requirement. So again, elaborate. Type out an answer. This is a journal question asking you to describe, to explain, and to process. So it's going to ask you, I'm going to ask you to write a little bit more. Again, those are the assignments that are due this week, tomorrow. So after all that, if you can make up those assignments fairly soon, for those of you that are kind of borderline passing for the quarter, you should be right back in the ball game. Ficker and I have agreed that this is the end of the second quarter. We are not assigning any more assignments over break. And even when we get back from break, the assignment we're going to give you on that remote learning week will be counted towards the third quarter. So everything up until this point is second quarter material. Go through your progress book, start cleaning it up a little bit, make sure you're turning in your assignments, reach out with specific questions, not just vague, I don't understand, but specifically what you don't understand or what you need help with through email or office hours. Let's clean this up. Let's get to the end of the quarter, folks. I realize that this is not the easiest way for many of you to learn. I get it. But you've got to start. If you're not going to complete the assignments when they're assigned, you have to reach out. This is a skill. You have to reach out to us and let us know where your head's at. Let us know what the problems are specifically so we can work through this. That is a basic skill of any job you're ever going to have. So let's work on that skill. Reach out and ask questions. If even this video has not answered those questions, then reach out. We'll schedule some office hours. I can schedule one anytime you want. I am on quarantine right now from my family for 10 days after tomorrow. So I've got time. Reach out. I will schedule an office hour, even if it's at 10 o'clock at night. I will schedule an office hour with you and I will walk through the assignments with you and help you in any way, shape, or form. So again, reach out through email, reach out to us during our office hours and ask. Okay, it doesn't hurt you at all to ask those questions. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great break.